Chapter 184. Just let Fuchun take a bite for, you're my guardian. You feed me. I won't be afraid of you. There's nothing more important than food. Can you beat those people? Feng Ruching stroked her own chin. If Fuchun and Qing Han could beat those people, they'll think of a way to take them out of this place sooner. Qing Han was stunned for a few seconds. Her frowns were cute. She was worried. Brother Fuchun and I have never left the Divine Herb sect. We don't know how to fight. I have never fought before. I'm not sure whether I can beat those people. Feng Ruching's face darkened. Then why did you tell me that? But I'm very fierce. I can bite people. They'll be afraid of me. Qing Han puffed her cheeks and said angrily, "The Guardian looks down on me. The people in the Divine Herb sect were afraid of us before." Qing Han. Feng Ruching patted Qing Han's head. She said deliberately, "You've not been outside for a very long time. The people out there are more fierce. They'll bite anybody they meet just like mad dogs." It was like Lu Yuqin and his wife, noble consort Rong and her daughter. Is that so? Qing Han was surprised. The people nowadays are so fierce. Are they fiercer than me? Qing Han lowered her head sadly. After a while, she raised her small pink face. Then, it'll help Brother Fuchun to go and bite them. Fuchun was targeted without doing anything. Am I a dog? Feng Ruching coughed a few times after seeing how Fuchun's face darkened. She stopped Qing Han and turned to look at Fuchun. Do you have any way to cure my father's poisoning? Fuchun looked at Feng Ruching. Did you memorize the content of the book of spirit herbs which I have given you? You go back and look it over. There's a way inside it. Feng Ruching's eyebrows twitched just a bit. Those ways require grade for spirit herbs, and the herbs needed are quite rare among the grade for spirit herbs. I have asked Paramount on my way back just now. They too do not have those herbs. Then, why don't you make a breakthrough? Fuchun looked at Feng Ruching, just like how he would look at an idiot. You can sow them on your own when you make a breakthrough. Feng Ruching took a deep breath. What had she asked was useless. She must make the breakthrough to the Spirit Warrior tier in a year if she wanted to harvest grade 4 spirit herbs. Moreover, the poison in Feng Tianyu's body could not spread anymore in this period. Guardian, you know that your father's body is unhealthy. Why did you use him to threaten Lu Yunxiao today? Fuchun was quite angry when he thought of this. Don't you know that it's very dangerous? So what? Feng Ruching seemed domineering. When have I admitted that I'm weak? I can't lose my ground no matter what the condition of my father's body is. You won't understand this. Fuchun was stunned. He said, weren't you afraid that Lu Yunxiao would pick a fight? No worries. That coward gave up soon when I frightened him just a bit. Suddenly, Fuchun looked at Feng Ruching like it was the first time he had met her. Guardian, Qing Han wanted to say something, but Feng Ruching picked her up and patted her soft and squishy buttocks. Just call me Mom. Qing Han nodded her head obediently. Then, Mom, is that handsome and beautiful man the father of Brother Fuchun and me? Qing Han's taste is really something. If you meet him in the future, just call him Dad. Chapter 185. The spirit beasts who were digging the earth. Fuchun, come here. Feng Ruching raised her hands and pulled Fuchun's small body into her embrace. Fuchun's head rested against Feng Ruching's chest. It was soft and still. It made Fuchun's shameful tears roll down his cheeks. Let go of me. Fuchun struggled vigorously, but it was useless. So, Fuchun allowed Feng Ruching to hug him. From now on, both of you are the children of the state Preceptor and me. Feng Ruching hugged Fuchun in one hand, and she smiled brightly like the sun in the sky. So, don't you hide any treasure from me if you have any more treasure. If I learn that you hide something from me, they'll disown you. Just not sure what kind of reaction the state Preceptor would have if he knows of it. Fuchun's white face froze. He took a deep breath before he voiced out his anger. Damn it. Not only you took all my treasures, but you have also made use of the things in my head. What more do you want? By the way, what's the usage of the sword you gave me before? Why can't I use it? Feng Ruching lowered her eyes and looked at Fuchun, who was in her embrace. That sword was taken from Fuchun with much difficulty. But I do not know how to use it even after I have investigated it for a few days. I cannot even draw it out. Fu Chen shook his head. I'm not sure. I took it from the Divine Herbs sect. It was made by someone. It looked so delicious, so I took it and hid it for myself. But how would I know how to use it? I'm not human. By the way, I still did not know what kinds of species these two creatures are. They're not human or spirit beasts. What's more important is they need spirit herbs to recover their spiritual power. Feng Ruching squinted. Who is that person? The Ninth Emperor. There was a sense of worship in Fu Chen's eyes. He was the ancestor of the Divine Herbs sect, and he was also a legendary icon for 1,000 years now. Feng Ruching touched her head. I've read through the history of Tsangyu mainland these past few days, but I never heard of a person called the Ninth Emperor. Impossible. Fu Chen's expression changed. He said angrily, this mainland was saved by the Ninth Emperor before. All the living things here were all saved by him. Why is there no record of him in history? All the living things would die if it were not for the Ninth Emperor. This mainland would not even exist. He was the legend of those days. He was also an unforgettable hero. But who was the culprit? Who had removed the Ninth Emperor's existence? After hearing what you have said, the Ninth Emperor seemed to be a very powerful person. Feng Ruching stroked her chin. He was the ancestor of the Divine Herbs sect. It proved that he was indeed strong and powerful. The Ninth Emperor, he founded the Divine Herbs sect, and he had even created the prescription of many spirit herbs dishes. The spiritual power was strong in those days, even if it was not as strong as the condition now. Even so, the spirit herbs were rare and special still. If it were not the Ninth Emperor's efforts, there would not be any prescription of spirit herbs dishes. The Ninth Emperor was still regarded as a god when the Divine Herbs sect encountered a great change in that era. But, after 1,000 years, people have now forgotten about him. How could this not infuriate people? The Ninth Emperor seemed to be very powerful. How come he's dead? If the Ninth Emperor were not dead, the Divine Herbs sect would not have been destroyed then. Chapter 186. The spirit beasts who were digging the earth. Fu Chen's eyes darkened as he lowered his eyes. He had lost all his energy. Mom. Qing Han raised her small pink face. The Ninth Emperor did not die. He disappeared. Disappeared?
Yes.
Qing Han stroked her small head. Actually, I do not remember him very well. We were quite young at that time. We just remembered that he had always watered us and talked to us every day. But, one day, the Ninth Emperor came into the garden of the spirit herbs and told us that his lover had gotten into trouble. He needed to leave the Divine Herbs sect. He even ordered the sect masters of every generation to take good care of us. Then, he left and never came back. Their impression of the Ninth Emperor was only that much. They were too young at that time, so they lacked spiritual wisdom. Thus, they could not remember his face and his spiritual qi. They could only hear what he had said to them every day. This, Feng Ruching stroked her chin. Was the Ninth Emperor a male or a female? I don't know. Nobody knew the Ninth Emperor's gender. Nobody knew how he or she looked either. I still have one last question. Feng Ruching smiled and looked at the creatures in her hands. Are the two of you spirit herbs? Fu Chen roared. He was so shocked that he escaped from Feng Ruching's embrace. He found that Qing Han was about to say something. He quickly covered her mouth and did not let her keep talking. Qing Han, don't you talk nonsense. We're not spirit herbs. How are we spirit herbs? Qing Han blinked and nodded. Fu Chen sighed in relief, then removed his hands from her mouth. Brother Fu Chen is right. If Mom knows that we're spirit herbs, she would totally eat us. Fu Chen could not utter a word. Was this girl stupid? Lack of spiritual wisdom? Qing Han looked at Fu Chen, whose face had darkened with grief. Brother Fu Chen, what have I said wrongly? It's you who had asked me to say this. I did not say anything wrong. I just want to throw this girl out. Qing Han is right. Feng Ruching consoled Qing Han. She smiled even wider. You've said what Fu Chen had taught you to say. You've done nothing wrong. But Brother Fu Chen seems to be angry. Don't bother about him. He's always angry. He'll be fine after a while. Okay, they'll listen to Mom. Qing Han hugged Feng Ruching's neck with her two little hands. Qing Han giggled aloud. Her laugh was even clearer than the sound of the bell. It was like there was some kind of magic in it. A spirit herb who can bite people and laugh like that. What kind of species is this young girl? Oh, spirit herbs also can transform into people. Feng Ruqing realized now that the creatures in front of her were two spirit herbs which had transformed into humans. Oomph! Fu Qin grunted unhappily. If Qing Han is not in Mom's embrace and if I can beat her without any feelings, I'd totally grab her and beat her up. I've hidden my identity for so long, and now she has exposed it with just one sentence. Feng Ruqing hugged these two creatures and enjoyed the happiness of the family union. On the other hand, the Lu family had fallen into a pit of great fear. The old master of Lu family, Lu Yunxiao, had returned. This was indeed a good event, but he had brought along a group of spirit beasts with him. Chapter 187. The spirit beasts who were digging the earth. These spirit beasts in the Lu family fought against one another when they quarreled. They would even destroy the maid's undergarments. They were like robbers in the village, and everyone feared their presence. Father, the current master of the Lu family, Lu Fei, seemed worried when he saw how aggressive the spirit beasts were. Do you really allow the spirit beasts to roam freely? My father's strength would be able to control the spirit beasts if he chose to do so. How can we do that? Lu Yunxiao sneered. Our Lu family would not be this pathetic if your son and my daughter-in-law did not cause trouble. Lu Fei was stunned, and he clenched his fists tightly. Father, you've made a breakthrough to Spirit Warrior tier. Why are you afraid of His Majesty? Do you really think that I'm afraid of him alone? Lu Yunxiao laughed coldly. Master Nailin has broken through to Spirit Warrior Tier 2. All of you did not even hear about that. I was embarrassed at the palace. Lu Fei was stunned. Has Master Nailin made a breakthrough to Spirit Warrior Tier? How did he make a breakthrough? Meanwhile, a quick shadow ran in from the entrance. Lu Yunxiao looked at the guard coldly. He said icily, "Why are you so nervous? Did the spirit beasts take some treasure again?" "No, it's not." The guard kneeled down on one knee. The guard looked anxious. "Old master, the master of the Qin family, Qin Feiyang, has made a breakthrough to Spirit Warrior Tier. The Qin family is currently giving out invitation cards to guests for a meal. Our Lu family is invited too." Boom. This news was like a great blow to Lu Yunxiao. It shocked him very much. Qin Feiyang has also attained Spirit Warrior Tier 2. What has happened to our imperial city? Is the Spirit Warrior Tier that easily achieved? Lu Yunxiao's tightly clenched fists trembled furiously. Luckily, I did not pick up a fight with them at the palace. Qin Feiyang and Master Nailin are His Majesty's families. Surely they would side with His Majesty. He was supposed to fight against 2 people. Now, the number of enemies had increased to 3 people. There was no chance he could ever win in the fight. Do you see? Lu Yunxiao held out his trembling hands. He pointed at the spirit beasts, which were running around freely. Why have I promised the princess that he'll compensate? Why did I even let the spirit beasts run away freely? That's because I don't know what else to do. If I defy the princess, the Lu family would surely be destroyed. Is it my fault that I'm a coward? I have just done what is best for the Lu family. I thought that I could change the situation for the Lu family. But I did not know that those people would attain the Spirit Warrior Tier right when I came back. If I knew of this situation earlier, I would not be so daring as to enter the palace today. But father, Lu Fei's voice shook with fear. The spirit herbs given by that person are stored with the Lu family. If those spirit herbs are stolen, Lu Yunxiao shook his head. No, they won't be able to do that. I've hidden those spirit herbs underground. The box which I used to hide the spirit herbs can cover the presence of the spirit herbs too. Even the spirit beasts will not be able to, old master. An anxious voice broke Lu Yunxiao off as he was talking. Another guard came forward. He kneeled down in front of Lu Yunxiao anxiously. Old master, those spirit beasts have gone wild. What happened? Lu Yunxiao frowned. Lu Yunxiao felt a sense of anxiety and discomfort in his heart without knowing why. Old master, those spirit beasts ran into Rome Garden and start digging the earth without any reason. I'm afraid that they would do something harmful. so I've come to inform you about the situation. Wrong garden? Digging the earth? Lu Yongxiu's head almost exploded with the news. He stood up with trembling legs. He could not stand straight. There was anxiety in his eyes. Chapter 188. The spirit beasts which were digging the earth for quick. Let's go to Rome Garden. Lu Fei's face turned pale as soon as he saw Lu Yongxiu's reaction. He could not think much but to quickly follow Lu Yunxiao, Rome Garden, which was located in the backyard of Lu Manor, belonged only to Lu Rong. The garden was the place where she would stop by when she returned to her parents' home. Usually, nobody was allowed to step in there. However, Rome Garden was now completely destroyed. Not far around the pits, the beasts led by the snow wolf were taking a rest. Lots of black boxes were stacked near their feet. As soon as Lu Yunxiao entered the garden, the first thing he saw were all the empty black boxes. His heart skipped a beat. He had difficulty breathing as he could not even breathe evenly. His face turned blue. All these spirit herbs were left for Yuer through 10 years of pinching and scraping. Now it's all gone. Everything. Lu Yunxiao felt everything go black. If it were not the guard who had held him in time, he would have already fallen headfirst. Lu Fei growled. It was all for Yuer. He did not even get to taste the spirit herbs before. The spirit beasts had eaten them all. Not even one was left. His spirit herbs. Oh well. The snow wolf howled discontentedly, looking at those two crazy men disdainfully. Wasn't it only some spirit herb? Why were they acting like the snow wolf had raped their daughter-in-law? Were they mad? Growling. The earth bear growled. What happened to all these humans? Are they suffering from some form of rabies? Should the bear find a place to hide? The earth bear was afraid because its master was not around. Father, I'm going to kill all these spirit beasts. Arg. I want to kill them all. Lu Fei was going insane. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at those spirit beasts furiously, especially when he saw the snow wolf that was getting a massage from the purple sable. Stop! Lu Yunxiao shouted in rage and reached out his hand to stop Lu Fei. Who else is capable of fighting against these spirit beasts here besides me? Go to hell yourself if you want, but don't trouble our Lu family. Lu Fei withdrew his hands angrily as he smiled coldly. He glared at the snow wolf as if he was looking right at a dead wolf. The spirit herbs were my father's life, but they have eaten them. No matter how timid father is, he will never let these spirit beasts go. Even if he needs to challenge the 3 spirit warriors, he will not back off. Lu Yunxiao had already walked toward the snow wolf in front of Lu Fei. Oh well. The snow wolf squinted. What? Do you want to fight? Lu Yunxiao stopped as a smile appeared on his old face. Excuse me, Mr. Snow Wolf, did you have enough just now? Or do you want to stay for dinner too? Lu Fei was stunned before he could stop grinning. He stared at Lu Yongxiu's back in disbelief. Father, you... Lu Yunxiao turned back and stared. Shut up if you don't want to die. Facing those 3 spirit warriors? In your dreams. If he had this gut, he would not have tolerated and backed down that day. Mr. Snow Wolf, Lu Yunxiao forced a smile. Oh well. The snow wolf howled in rage as it interrupted Lu Yongxiu's words. Who were you addressing as Mr.? The snow wolf was merely a 2-year-old baby. Growling. The earth bear next to it growled to add in an explanation. Snow wolf, he definitely knows that you have hidden 2 divine spirit fruit up your butt. That's why he has invited you to the dinner, so that he can easily poison you and rob you of your divine spirit fruit. This bad old man, he was really bad. Chapter 189. This is a big misunderstanding. The snow wolf squinted. Another person who craves for the divine spirit fruit? Wait. Suddenly, the snow wolf looked at the earth bear suspiciously. My little brother, how did you know the place where I hid the divine spirit fruit? Lu Yunxiao watched puzzlingly at the bear and wolf. He felt as if the earth bear was saying something to the snow wolf. Perhaps the earth bear wished to stay for dinner, so the bear was trying to persuade the snow wolf? Lu Yunxiao turned sharply as he thought of that. Mr. Snow Wolf, the earth bear is right. Why don't Mr. Snow Wolf, Before the snow wolf could ask the earth bear what it intended to say, the snow wolf heard Lu Yunxio's words and bristled with rage. The red wolf eyes stared ferociously at Lu Yunxio's old face. He confessed. This badass old man had confessed. Brother Bear was right. These people were craving for the divine spirit fruit from its butt. Lu Yunxiao was a bit startled. Had he said something wrong? Wasn't the earth bear trying to persuade the snow wolf? Bang! Without giving Lu Yunxiao a second chance to speak, the snow wolf slapped him with its paw. The unexpected slap scratched Lu Yun's feet so quickly that he could not possibly have avoided it. Luckily, Lu Yunxiao was strong enough, so this scratch hurt only a little. If it were Lu Fei, that paw could have torn his leg right off. Even so, the snow wolf's deeds had put Lu Yunxiao into a dilemma. But what could he do? Kill the wolf? Feng Ruqing would never let him go. Father! Lu Fei could not believe it. The snow wolf has already gone this far. How could father still tolerate it? When will he be a little braver? Where's the dignity of being a spirit warrior? Oh well, the snow wolf got even angrier. Initially, the badass old man who wanted to rob it of its divine spirit fruit. Now, he wanted to evade? The snow wolf must tell its master that this badass old man bullied it. Lu Yunxio's face was still pale as his lips twitched a few times. Then he asked, "So, Mr. Snow Wolf, do you want to have your dinner here or—" Bah! The snow wolf spat on the floor and huffed coldly. Not even glancing in Lu Yunxio's direction, the snow wolf walked toward the door elegantly. The old badass had planned to poison the snow wolf. Would the snow wolf be that stupid to stay? Besides, things that should be taken had been taken. What should be eaten had been eaten. It was time for the snow wolf to leave. All the spirit beasts, the earth bear, purple sable, and the other spirit beasts that walked past Lu Yunxiao spat around his feet and looked at him scornfully. Those looks were implying that he was an idiot. Lu Yunxiao clenched his fists tighter. His head was rolling as countless thunder and lightning blasted inside his head. He could not even think for a second. He was despised by a group of spirit beasts. Lu Yunxio's chest was beating hard. He clenched his fists so hard that the mark left by his nails could be seen on his palm. The old eyes were filled with rage and unwillingness. He gripped his fists even tighter. Father! Lu Fei's eyes were filled with disappointment. You are already a spirit warrior now. Why are you still acting like the old you? Timidity and overcautiousness? Lu Yunxiao slapped Lu Fei's face with his palm. The expression was just like as if Lu Fei had killed his wife, full of anger. What do you know? If it wasn't that old Qin Feiyang making a breakthrough to Spirit Warrior tier, do you really think I would put myself in this position? Yes, I'm timid. But my timidity allows me to survive up until now, and that is why the master has chosen the Lu family. Chapter 190. This is a big misunderstanding too. He could size up the situation. When to stand up and when to stand back. He knew it all. If he paid too much attention to his dignity and face, he would have died so many times. Lu Fei's eyes were filled with disappointment. Father was afraid to beat the snow wolf because he was scared of the princess, so he vented all his grudges on him. Ever since he was a child, whenever father was in an unjust situation, he dared not go against it, but would only vent his anger on him. He had become really fed up with days like these. Father, I don't know what you are afraid of. We have support from the Master One, and Sister Shi's. Didn't you hear that I have told you to shut up? Lu Yunxiao was so angry as he gave Lu Fei another slap again. His face was scrunched up in anger as his eyes were filled with resentment. What do you think the Lu family is to that master? If it wasn't because that place was strictly controlled, which forbids them to meddle with any grievances in the secular world, he would have done it all by himself. Our family is merely one of his pawns. A pawn which he could throw away any time, as he could pick up another new pawn any time. This pawn was able to maintain its place for now only because of the relationship with Lu Rong, and also for his assistance for so many years. Lu Fei smiled coldly. He licked away the fresh blood on his lips and sneered at Lu Yunxiao. Father, you're too spineless. If I were you, as a spirit warrior, I want, and I don't need to put up with all these. I would have already killed all these spirit beasts. Lu Yongxiu's face was scrunched up in anger as he pointed at Lu Fei and said, "You." Before Lu Yunxiao could scold Lu Fei, he had already turned away and was walking toward the outer part of the courtyard. Looking at his fading figure, Lu Yunxiao stood beside the pits. His eyes were filled with sadness. Who am I doing this for? Wasn't it all for the Lu family? What's wrong for being a coward? At least I have done whatever I could so that the Lu family could survive up until this day. However, his son would never understand his efforts. At Supreme Princess Manor. At the pavilion, Feng Ruqing leaned on the stone bench. She looked lazy as the glow of sunset spilled on her red dress. The only trouble was that the stone bench seemed to be a little too tiny to fit her entire butt, as half of her butt was sitting outside the bench. It seems like losing weight is indeed a long journey, Feng Ruqing sighed. She had lost quite some weight then. However, she would need more time to cut down her size to an average one. Oh well. Suddenly, a loud howl came from outside. The voice was filled with grief, making it sound like it was crying. Feng Ruqing turned her head. Suddenly, she saw that beautiful snow wolf swiftly rushing toward her and immediately sobbing in her arms. Yes, with Feng Ruqing's size, she could hold the snow wolf in her arms. Feng Ruqing was stunned for a moment. After a moment, she forced some laughter to comfort herself. Maybe the snow wolf is still young. Its size is tiny, so I could hug it. Yes, it must be that. Little wolfie, has someone bullied you? Feng Ruqing asked, frowning as she looked down at the weeping snow wolf. The snow wolf sobbed and nodded. Sob sob. Not only did that badass old man want to rob it of its divine spirit fruit, but he also did not let it beat him. That was too much for the snow wolf. Feng Ruqing's face darkened as she asked, "Is it Lu Yunxiao, that old fart who bullied you?" The snow wolf nodded again. Feng Ruqing suddenly rose up. As she was not holding the snow wolf in her arms, the snow wolf fell to the ground before it howled in pain. Chapter 191. This is a big misunderstanding. 3. It was pathetic. This damn old fart. How dare he bully my wolfie? She thought that old fart would not dare to bully the snow wolf anymore. How could he? It was her negligence. When did Lu Yunxiao become so bold? Daring enough to bully her snow wolf? Sob sob, the snow wolf was weeping. My heart was hurt, but I was not going to tell you. Wolfie, why did he bully you? Feng Ruqing gritted her teeth and asked. The snow wolf whimpered and howled again. It lifted its little butt and pointed at its butt with its paw. That old fart had been looking for the divine spirit fruits hidden inside it. He would never get it. But Feng Ruqing looked below as she noticed the snow wolf's movement. Suddenly, she got so mad as her whole body froze. Lu Yunxiao, how could he rape her wolfie? Her wolfie was only an innocent and clean wolf cub. How could he take its first time away? The snow wolf looked at Feng Ruqing's enraged expression and thought she had comprehended its meaning. So, the snow wolf wept and sobbed again. Its nose was runny. Feng Ruqing felt her heart ache as she looked. It was her fault. It was all her fault. She should not have let Wolfie do the robbing, which had caused her Wolfie to lose its virginity. Wolfie, don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. It'll make that person who hurts you lose all of that person's standing and reputation, so that that person's life will be worse than death. Feng Ruqing gritted her teeth angrily. The anger burned like a flame inside her chest, which caused the veins on her forehead to bulge. The snow wolf looked at Feng Ruqing puzzlingly and seemed to have some confusion with her reactions. Although, the old man wanted to take its divine spirit fruits, but he had not gotten it. Had he? Master said that she would avenge it. What did she mean? However, before the snow wolf could understand what Feng Ruqing was trying to convey, the young girl lowered her head and caressed its head gently. Her tone was gentler than before. The tone was warm as it stirred the wolf's nerves, making it feel extremely exciting. Little Wolfie, sorry to put you in this. You can pick 5 divine spirit fruits later on. Take it as my comfort to you. Her poor little Wolfie suffering such humiliation at such a young age. How could Lu Yunxiao be such a pervert? Was it because he had lost his mate for such a long time, so that even a wolf looked pretty to him as well? Then he could not resist himself to The snow wolf had forgotten all of its grievances and howled in excitement after hearing Feng Rooking's words. This trip was worth it. Not only had the snow wolf eaten so many spirit herbs at Lu Manor, but 5 divine spirit fruits from the master. It was 5 of them. Master was such a stingy person. Usually, she would not have given even an extra one, but now she was giving it 5 of them. The snow wolf was so excited as its little heart was beating so hard. Happy. Watching the snow wolf's innocent expression, Feng Ruching sighed as her heart ached even more. Perhaps, the snow wolf still could not realize Lu Yongxiu's action meant? So, the snow wolf could recover quickly even with such humiliating experience, without leaving any shadows in its heart. However, regardless of the snow wolf's shadow, she would never let the old fart escape. Feng Rooking's eyes flashed coldly as she looked down. She clenched her fists tightly. Her breathing was heavy. Feng Ruching had actually thought this way because the snow wolf had never wiped its ass after going for a bowel movement. The smell had hidden the divine spirit fruit's spiritual qi. Also, Feng Ruching would never have thought that the snow wolf would hide the divine spirit fruits in such an inaccessible place. Therefore, this was a big misunderstanding. Chapter 192. Drinking with the State Preceptor? In the southern bamboo grove. Within the clear pond, a small azure snake was coiled up at the bottom of the pond. The water surface bubbled with the snake's breathing. It was shrouded in the morning sunlight. At the bottom of the water, the little azure snake moved gently as it slowly opened its virid eyes. What a wonderful sleep! As the snake floated up to the surface, its virid eyes shrank in excitement. Before it was about to yawn, it saw a figure standing below the sun. On that morning, the man was dressed in a snowy white cloth. He was cool like a fairy. He stood with his back facing the snake from the start. The figure was light in shape as it looked like a celestial being from the painting, a celestial being which had amazed all the living creatures. Master! Was Master back? Finally, the snake did not have to live in fear all the time anymore. The azure snake jumped out from the pond excitedly and rushed toward the man. Suddenly, the man in front turned around slowly, raised his hand and grabbed it. Before the snake could land in his arms, he had already caught it in his hand. Master, the princess was abducted by a brat. His name was Qin Qian or something. Feng Ruching brought him to the palace to see me once. As soon as Nan Xian returned, the azure snake could not wait to complain. Its eyes were filled with grief. How pitiful it was. Nan Xian lowered his eyes. Qin Qian? Inside his mind, he could not help but see the young man who was standing next to Feng Ruching yesterday. His cold eyes were colder than before. Oh yes, master. When did you come back? The snake sounded mortified. If you come back a few days later, I might have turned into a snake soup and become the dinner of the princess and that adulterer. Nan Xian gave the snake a confused look. I was back yesterday, but the azure snake had already slept for 1 day and 1 night. Qingzhu was shocked. Master had returned yesterday, and it didn't even notice? The snake was afraid that Nan Xian would think that it was useless as it could not even notice that he was back. It quickly changed the subject by showing excitement. Master, why don't we drive the adulterer away? I knew he's into something bad when I first saw him. Nan Xian became very thoughtful. You did not stay by her side? If it had stayed by the prince's side, how could it be still alive when Master returned? Qingzhu's voice was weak. Master, the princess, wanted to cook me and serve me to the emperor as snake soup. I'm scared. Oh? Qingzhu's eyes popped widely. What did Master mean by oh? Did it imply that he could understand why the snake was reluctant to stay by the princess? Or he had agreed that the princess could cook and eat the snake? Nan Xian lowered his eyes and looked at the little snake that he was holding carefully. His lips were lifted into a vague smile, and his eyes were still as cold as the moonlight. Snake soup, that's a nutritious thing. Besides, it's made from you. She has good taste. Oh, Qingzhu was shocked and almost fell from Nan Xian's hand. Its body was trembling, its voice was shaking, and tears were rolling in its eyes. Master, You did not act like that before. You have changed. You're not the master whom I know anymore." Apparently, the snake was not its master's flesh nor blood. That was why the master had never loved the snake. To be with that human girl, he was even willing to make it into snake soup. Sob sob. The snake wanted to run away from home and never come back again. Chapter 193. Drinking with the State Preceptor? Tu Qingzhu burst into tears as it fled from Nan Xian's arms and shot just like an arrow out of the southern bamboo grove. The snake was too fast, so it could not notice the person who was coming in front of it as it pounced forward. Even though it was just a snake, anything that moved at such a pace was like an edged weapon. So, when Qingzhu saw the young girl who suddenly appeared, it could not stop itself but panically bump into the young girl. Nan Xian's face suddenly changed as he took a step forward. It was a fact that he had elegant steps just like the wind, but even with a small step, a mere step, he had reached right in front of Feng Ruqing. In Feng Ruqing's surprised eyes, a force came from the side as it dragged her into someone's arms. A man's chest could be so warm. She could even hear the sound of the heart beating, bang. Qingzhu could not break itself in time and hit the old tree in front of it. It cried out in pain and started to see stars. "Were you frightened?" Nan Xian held Feng Ruqing in his arms. He lowered his head as his cool eyes fell upon the face of the young girl. His voice was as bright as the moon, but it was so soft that people could indulge themselves in it. Qingzhu had thrown its frail frame along the ground. It lifted its head as it looked at that nasty man and lady. Its eyes were filled with grief and resentment. It was the snake that was injured. It was the snake. But all Master cared about was if the princess was frightened. Nobody even glanced at the snake. Feng Ruqing looked up. At that moment, her eyes met Nan Xian's cold eyes. He was pure, noble, and elegant, just like the banished immortal that lived away from the secular world, as if any profanity would be an insult to him. "State Preceptor, I have brought some wine." She took out a wine jar that was hidden behind her, pleasing with herself, and smiled as she leaned on Nan Xian's chest. "You weren't here days before, and so you couldn't taste the spirit wine that I had brewed. So, I have decided to visit you today." Nan Xian's thoughtful eyes were drawn down to the wine jar in Feng Ruqing's hands. "Sure." Not far away, Qingzhu shook its head as it had just recovered from dizziness. But it had accidentally heard Nan Xian's words. Its eyes popped open widely. "Master, didn't you tell the emperor before that the prince's body could not cope with the alcohol?" Nan Xian might have noticed Qingzhu's astonishment and shot a cold glance back. That glance made Qingzhu tremble. It swallowed what it had intended to say as it took a few steps back. Okay, he knew nothing. Feng Ruqing had already sat inside the bamboo pavilion, which was located next to the pond. She took out 3 ceramic wine glass and smilingly turned to the Qingzhu near her. "Xiao Qing, you are welcome to join and taste the wine I have brewed." Qingzhu's face darkened as it said, Qingzhu, not Xiao Qing." Feng Ruqing squinted and smiled. "Xiao Qing and snake soup, you pick one." Qingzhu trembled and looked at Nan Xian subconsciously. Nan Xian had already flicked his sleeve and sat down. He did not even spare a glance at the snake from the start. Qingzhu's heart skipped a few beats as its voice was weaker than before. "Well, I'll go with Xiao Qing then." It was better than snake soup. Actually, snake soup is quite a good name. If you don't like it, I'll call you Xiao Qing from now on. Feng Ruqing sighed as she raised the jar and poured the wine into 3 cups. From Xiao Qing's expression, it seemed to be obsessed with that strong smell of that wine. "This wine seems better than the divine spirit fruit that you have given me before. It's much more delicious." Chapter 194. Gave birth to a nest of little snakes? After the cups were filled with wine, Xiao Qing swooshed to the front of the table. It buried its head in the cup. It gulped and drank all the wine inside. The thick spirit wine flowed into its body as if there was a spiritual force spreading inside. "Xiao Qing, go aside to absorb the spiritual qi," Nan Xian coldly ordered. Xiao Qing lifted its head. Its eyes looked dazed and dismayed but delighted. Too many feelings were mixing around as the snake had failed to notice what phrases had Nancian used to call it. Yes, master. Xiao Qing finally came to sense, and how it looked at Feng Ruqing was not the same as before. Before Feng Ruqing could speak, Xiao Qing had already gone aside obediently. It twisted its body and started to practice, planning to absorb all that spiritual qi that running around. What happened to Xiao Qing? Feng Ruqing was confused as she turned to Nancian surprisingly. Nancian gently sipped his thin lips. His white cloth fluttered in the wind. During that year, when I found Xiao Qing, it was in great damage and bad spiritual condition. The wine you brewed was just enough to restore its spiritual condition. Spirit herbs were much more important to the spirit beasts. Xiao Qing's spiritual qi scattered because of the damage. It could not be restored to its normal state. Although Feng Ruqing did give him some divine spirit fruit was merely a spirit herb, which did not have much effect on the snake. The divine spirit fruit could not be compared with the spirit wine. Feng Ruqing did not pay attention to Xiao Qing after she knew what had happened. She beamed at Nancian. The smile was just like the beautiful sunlight, and her face was glowing. It was apparent that the young girl in front of Nancian was still a fatty, but her bright smile had made its way into Nancian's heart, and it felt as if it had clicked with his heart. You got bullied again yesterday? Feng Ruqing remained silent. Countless thoughts flashed through her mind, but an idea caught her attention in the end. So, Feng Ruqing suddenly stood up from the bamboo chair. Her fat body fell straight into Nancian's arms. Fortunately, Nancian was strong enough to not be knocked down by her. His body was still as stable as Mount Taishan as he sat steadily on the chair. But through careful observation, it could be seen that his body was stiff and tight at that moment. That was not the first time Nancian and Feng Ruqing had had intimate contact. The past 2 times, he had taken the initiative to hug her. But those 2 times were because he was trying to help her. Now, Feng Ruqing took the initiative to throw herself into his arms. That feeling was different, master. They all bullied me. I want comfort. Feng Ruqing pressed her whole figure against Nancian's body. Nancian's body turned even more rigid. He looked down at the young girl who had already laid her hands on his chest. His cold face darkened more as he pushed away those restless hands and reluctantly said, "Stop." Feng Ruqing smiled as she pulled her hands back, only that her body was still reluctant to leave the State Preceptor's chest. State Preceptor, I heard that Feng Ruishuang keeps coming to harass you? Feng Ruishuang? Nancian's eyes widened in surprise. He frowned heavily as if he was thinking about something. After a while, his wind-like light voice spoke. She has the same surname as you? Is she your sister? Feng Ruqing looked at Nancian, dumbfounded. Feng Ruishuang, don't you know her? She came and harassed you again and again, and you don't know her? Chapter 195. Give birth to a nest of little snakes? Nancian's voice was light yet cold. Why should I remember an insignificant person? She suddenly remembered the first time she met the State Preceptor. The State Preceptor could call out to her by her name on sight. So, Feng Ruqing squinted and said, State Preceptor, to be honest, did you have a secret crush on me before? How could you call out my name on sight when we first met in the southern bamboo grove? Nancian scanned Feng Ruqing from her head to toes, his thin lips then lifted gently. Your size. It's hard to forget. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. Should she be thankful to the previous owner for making the body so fat that the State Preceptor seemed to remember her better? After seeing Nancian's eyes, she removed herself from his body immediately as she gritted her teeth and said, I, Feng Ruqing, am not a human if I can't make it to 90 pounds. As soon as she finished speaking, Feng Ruqing angrily picked up the wine cup and drank the contents in a shot. She had already known that she was not good with alcohol. She only wanted to take a sip, but unfortunately, the whole cup of wine went straight into her stomach. She stumbled and fell without warning. Nancian immediately stood up. He extended his hands and pulled Feng Ruqing into his arms. The red dress fluttered with the light wind, and her hair floated along. Nancian held her up by her waist. He turned his chilly eyes at Qingzhu as if there were some hidden, cold rays hidden behind his eyes. You go and find out, Who was the one who had bullied her yesterday, in detail? Yes, master. Qingzhu lifted its eyes and watched the young girl who was in Nanxian's arms. It asked, shocked, master. You know well that her body cannot cope with alcohol, why? Nanxian smiled lightly. As long as I'm here, it will be fine no matter what happened. If she wants to drink, what's the harm of letting her be happy? Qingzhu seemed to look more confused. The snake really felt that. Master's attitude toward the princess was really unusual. Was that really because the princess was someone he was looking for? Or there were other reasons? Before Qingzhu could think further, the young girl in Nanxian's arms slowly opened her eyes. Her body size aside, this pair of eyes was extremely beautiful. Usually, a fatty's eyes were squished into a line, but her eyes were still big and bright. They seemed like they were glowing and were more dazzling than the moon. Only that now, Feng Ruqing's eyes were filled with enchantment. She jumped out of Nanxian's arms and belched too, but Qingzhu was astounded. The snake always felt that the princess had turned into someone else. Her eyes looked like they were looking at a bowl of snake soup when they looked at the snake. Master, please save me. Looking at the approaching Feng Ruqing, Qingzhu retreated in shock as its whole snake body trembled. Feng Ruqing belched again. Her steps were unstable, her cheeks were blushed, and her smile was bright. Indeed, I have been single for a long time, and even a snake looks pretty to me now. Little snake, would you come home with me and help me give birth to a nest of little snakes? One Nanxian, Qingzhu. At that moment, Qingzhu was so frightened that its bladder might burst. The present princess was worse than the old princess who wanted to make it into a snake soup. Also, what the heck did she mean by giving birth to a nest of little snakes? The snake was not a female. How could the snake give birth to a nest of little snakes? The snake was a male. A male. Suddenly, a pair of cold eyes emerged and swept in from the side, and shocked Qingzhu. Its eyes were seized with terror as it turned around slowly and looked at Nanxian. Chapter 196. Give birth to a nest of little snakes? 3. Wait, master. I'm innocent. When you were not around this month, we only slept next to each other. Nothing else had happened. Yup, they only laid on the grass and took an afternoon nap. Besides, the snake was only half asleep because of fear. The snake was not sleeping at all, but all it wished was to send away the god of pestilence. As the snake finished speaking, the surroundings got more chilly, as if the whole southern bamboo forest was suddenly ravaged by a severe winter. Qingzhu almost cried and said, Master, please, believe me. I'm not the adulterer. We're innocent. Nanxian waved his sleeve and swept his palm in the air. The little azure snake that was still complaining and crying was thrown into the sky until it disappeared. Where's my little snake? It hasn't given birth to the little snakes for me yet. Where has it gone? The young girl stopped moving. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She was stuck, not knowing where to go. Behind her, a soft voice echoed with the wind. I have never raised a snake in my home. I believe you have seen the wrong thing just now. Feng Ruqing turned around in shock. She looked at the man behind her blankly. Her vision was blurry as she could not clearly see the man's face. She could only see the snowy white shirt, which was clean and divine. You're drunk. The guy was already next to Feng Ruqing. His hand caressed her head gently as he frowned a little. He felt quite helpless. He knew that Feng Ruqing should not drink. A cup of wine could make her go wild. He just could not even begin to imagine that. She would flirt with a snake when she was drunk. They'll take you home to rest. Nanxian raised his hands as he wished to hold her up again. But this time, Feng Ruqing did not do as he wished. She pushed away Nanxian's hand. Then she slapped Nanxian's handsome face. Man, go away. Don't try to take advantage of her when she is drunk. Nanxian's face suddenly darkened. He grasped Feng Ruqing's hand tightly. There was a mark of 5 fingers on his face. Qinger, stop that. Go away. I need to find little snake to help me give birth to snake babies. Where's little snake? Why is the snake still not back yet? It is a male snake. You are lying. It is clear that it's Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing is a female snake. Go away. I want to find Xiao. As soon as she turned and tried to leave, She accidentally tripped over a stone. Her whole body was thrown aside. She grabbed at the air, panicked, and she got up. I found little snake, but this little snake, why is it shorter than the previous snake? Why has this little snake grown bigger? One ancien had reached out and caught the young girl who nearly fell. Only that, the young girl firmly grabbed the little snake that she thought was really a snake. She was reluctant to let her hands go, which really made Nancien's face turn dark. Little snake, I have got you this time. Don't you think of running away from me again. You belong to me in the future. You're mine, and you will always be mine. You have to give birth to a nest of little snakes for me. If you dare to run away, they'll chop you into 2 pieces. She pinched it twice as away to show her determination. Nancien's could not keep his indifferent expression. He inhaled a breath of cold air. Chinger, keep your hands off. No. If she let go, it would sneak away. Listen, let go. It won't run away from you. Be good and let go of your hands. Nancien frowned as he could not control himself, but sound helpless. Chapter 197. Give birth to a nest of little snakes? For it seemed that it would be better not to let this girl drink. Feng Ruching still did not let go. She really thought it was a little snake and continued to play with it. Something cold flashed in Nancien's eyes. He placed his fingertip on the young lady's neck. A glow of spiritual chi flowed into her body, and soon, the young girl's body turned soft and fell into his arms. The hand that firmly grasped onto the little snake gradually loosened. By the time Feng Ruching woke up from the slumber, it was already sunset. She felt a burst of pain on her temples. She rubbed them with her hands to help the throbbing. As soon as she recalled being very drunk in front of the state preceptor, her face darkened as wished she could find a hole and hide inside it. Are you awake? A cold voice came from next to her. Feng Ruching blinked and turned around. The familiar white shirt, face, and smell. Also, the distinct 5-finger red mark on his face. Nancien pursed his lips gently and threw a confused look at Feng Ruching. Feng Ruching quivered as she saw that look. She asked, her voice trembling, State Preceptor, after I was drunk, did I do anything? Your face. She had hit him? Nancien was just like a fairy with a cool aura as he walked. The premise was to ignore the bloody fingerprint on his face. You don't remember any of it? Nancien looked at her helplessly. You slapped me after you were drunk yesterday. Feng Ruching's eyes widened. This? She did it? How could she not remember it? She stretched out her finger gently and caressed the marks on the man's face. She felt guilty as she asked painfully, State Preceptor, what else did I do? Nancien looked at her coldly. You hugged me. Anything else? Kissed me, and then gave me a slap. For the first time, Feng Ruching felt she was just like a beast. She had molested the state preceptor when she was drunk. The state preceptor did not blame her, yet she had given him a slap. Feng Ruching suddenly felt like crying as she felt guilty and regretful. Her face was filled with mixed emotions. Well, why did she drink a full cup of wine? Why? You even said. Nancien's eyes flashed imperceptibly and continued. I only belong to you in the future. If I dare to run away, you will. As he said this, he did not forget to glance between his legs. Chop it in 2. Feng Ruching followed the direction of his eyes, and she saw that thing he mentioned. At that moment, Feng Ruching felt like there was thunder rolling in the sky as her body turned stiff. It was true that she did mention that she wanted to sleep with the state preceptor. However, the state preceptor was such a cool, fairy-like man, and he should be clear from filthy words. That was the reason why she just wanted to sleep him, but not to tease him with nasty words. Therefore, when she learned what she said after being drunk, Feng Ruching went blank as if she stood in the gale and could not come to her senses for a while. Alcohol, that was a harmful thing. She knew it well. So, State Preceptor, where am I now? Feng Ruching shifted the topic quickly and asked. Nancien gently pursed his lips. In my bed. On the State Preceptor's bed. Feng Ruching was stunned. She did not drag the State Preceptor into his bed and then Did she? Chapter 198. Marry the State Preceptor? Feng Ruching had lost control after getting drunk and had slept with the State Preceptor who had always been ascetic. Thinking of this, Feng Ruching's body stiffened. What should I do now? What if Nanxian got angry and disallowed Feng Ruching to step into the southern bamboo grove again? How could she ever sleep with Nanxian again? State Preceptor, don't worry. I won't hold you responsible, and I won't take any responsibility for this. Let's forget about this and move on as if nothing has happened. Feng Ruching raised her head and stared intently at Nanxian as if she had made an important decision. Nanxian fell silent with an expression of utter nonchalance. Seeing this, Feng Ruching felt more anxious. Have I really forced myself on him, and he is now thinking of how he can penalize me? If I run away, can I escape from him? What do you think happened between us? Nanxian lowered his gaze to look at the lady who was lying on the bed. Naturally, it is. Feng Ruching bit back the words. You are saying that nothing has happened between us? Dumbstruck with a strange surprise, Feng Ruching asked. Nanxian nodded slightly. Feng Ruching heaved a sigh of relief, but at the same time, her eyes filled with disappointment. As Feng Ruching lowered her head, Nanxian could only hear her sigh but did not see the disappointment in her eyes. Your Highness, it is true that nothing has happened between us. However, you have slid your hands all over my body. What is the feeling of touching my body? Nanxian closed his eyes tightly. The corner of his lips curved into a faint smile. The feeling of touching your body? Feng Ruching was dumbfounded again. She followed Nanxian's eyes, and finally her eyes landed between his thighs. Boom! Feng Ruching's mind exploded like a bursting balloon. Although she had always let her hands wander all over Nanxian's body, she had never crossed the line. Now that she had actually touched his private part? How do you feel? Nanxian took a few steps closer to Feng Ruching as he asked with a faint smile on his face. His words were flirtatious, but his face was indifferent as if asking an ordinary question. I was drunk, and I couldn't feel anything. Can I touch it again? Feng Ruching raised her head dazedly. The words slipped out before she could stop herself. Boom! As soon as Feng Ruching finished her sentence, a loud bang sounded and shook the wooden house. Stunned, Feng Ruching turned her head only to see a snake covered in dust crawling in from outside the wooden house. The snake lifted its tongue with huge effort. Its eyes were flooded with tears. Moss. Master. Embark. The snake whimpered. Hey, little snake, where did you go? What had happened to you? Seeing the azure snake, Feng Ruching jumped out of the bed joyfully. Hearing the familiar voice, poor Qingzhu turned its head only to see Feng Ruching. In a flash, the snake spluttered with rage. Don't you dare to ask me. It's all because of... Suddenly, there was a sudden flash of light. A cold gaze pierced the snake. I'm all right. I went sightseeing. Stunned, the snake bit back its words and forced a smile. You went sightseeing? Why do you look so miserable? Tell me who has bullied you. I will avenge you. Feng Ruching's eyes narrowed. Chapter 199. Marry the State Preceptor? Qingzhu swallowed hard. It wanted to tell Feng Ruching that its own master was the one who bullied it. However, Qingzhu bit back the words after seeing Nanxian's penetrating gaze. No one has bullied me. I took a trip to the sky. I just came back from the sky. A trip to the sky? A snake can actually fly? Feng Ruching was sizing up Qingzhu in disbelief. She could feel that this little snake was hiding something from her. I told my master that I want to take a trip to the sky like a bird. Hence, my master lent me a helping hand. Qingzhu glimpsed at Nanxian fearfully and then fixed its eyes at Feng Ruching. Are you sure? If I find out that you are hiding something from me, I will tear you into pieces and make snake soup out of you to nourish the State Preceptor's body. Feng Ruching walked toward Qingzhu with a bright smile. I don't like snake skin. Nanxian looked immensely relieved. All right, I will peel off the skin before making the soup. I am sure it would be a mouth-watering delicacy. The princess wanted to please Nanxian with Qingzhu's flesh, and Nanxian had actually accepted it carefreely? Who did this little snake mess with? Why must it suffer such great pain at such a tender age? Hearing this, Qingzhu widened its eyes. Both of you are working together to bully me. Bursting into tears, Qingzhu turned to rush out the door. Qingzhu wanted to leave its master and never come back again. Watching Qingzhu leaving, Feng Ruqing turned to look at Nanxian as she blinked. Did I wrong Qingzhu? Perhaps what it said was true. Otherwise, the little snake would not be so resentful. Thinking of this, Feng Ruqing felt guilty about her reaction. However, the feeling vanished as soon as Nanxian walked toward her. Currently, there was only Nanxian's stunning face in her eyes. Forget about this. Qingzhu will return shortly. Really? Yes. The wooden house sank into a peaceful silence. Feng Ruqing could feel the temperature in the room rising, and her back was covered with sweat. As Feng Ruqing was extremely close to Nanxian, she could feel his breath on her face. State Preceptor, don't you feel hot? You can just tell me forthrightly that you want me to take off my clothes. Nanxian fell into a moment of silence before he responded. Feng Ruqing was rendered speechless. Was she such a lascivious lady in the eyes of Nanxian? Well, are you willing to do so? Feng Ruqing stared at Nanxian in his eyes, as if she was capable of seeing his beautiful body through his clothes. I will fulfill your dreams when you can finally defeat me. You can always look for me in the southern bamboo grove if someone bullies you. Chapter 200. Married to the State Preceptor? Feng Ruqing knew that she could only count on herself. No matter how strong the other person was, it had nothing to do with her. You don't want me to protect you? Hesitating for a moment, Nanxian furrowed his brows. Her eyes were as calm as still water. State Preceptor, are you sure you will come to my rescue in time whenever I am in trouble? If I just rely on you and never enhance my strength, when you are no longer by my side, who else is going to protect me? A faint smile hung on Feng Ruqing's lips. Startled, Nanxian fixed his eyes on Feng Ruqing. Moreover, I have decided to sleep with you ever since I met you. As you have said that you would fulfill my dream only when I can defeat you. It is a great challenge indeed, but it's also my motivation. If you come to my rescue whenever I am in trouble, I will never grow up. Feng Ruqing smiled as she said. State Preceptor, don't worry. I will handle these people on my own. I am just letting them live on for a while. If they bully me and you want to comfort me, you can do so with your body. As soon as Feng Ruqing finished her words, Nanxian's hand pressed against the back of her head and slammed it into his chest, causing a stifling sensation of pain on her forehead. Is this enough? A gentle voice sounded above her head. Not enough. Feng Ruqing raised her head. Her eyes were shining with delight. As soon as she finished her words, she pressed her lips against his jaw. Feng Ruqing's lips were soft and tender. Even a quick light kiss had struck Nanxian like lightning. He could feel a stinging sensation all over his body, which gave him an intense pleasure that he had never experienced before. State Preceptor, do you look down on me? Feng Ruqing smiled even brighter. As Feng Ruqing could not restrain the urge of kissing him, she thought that Nanxian would push her away. However, he did not stop her. Why should I look down on you? Hiding all the emotions in his eyes, Nanxian lowered his eyes to stare at the lady in his embrace. Because I am fat. You're slightly fat, but you look gorgeous. As Nanxian stroked her head, a glimpse of joy flashed in his cold eyes. Really? Feng Ruqing's eyes lit up. Yes, both Qinshan and Dyer had complimented her before, but none of them was as sweet as Nanxian's words, which sent a thrill of joy to her heart. State Preceptor, I need to visit the iron-blooded troop. I will drop by next time. All right. Soon, she disappeared into the distance. Nanxian lowered his eyes, his slender fingers stroking his jaw. He could still feel the warmth of her kiss lingering on his jaw. In the dungeon, the pungent smell that was lingering in the air had nearly made Lu Rong, who grew up in the lap of luxury, throw up. Mother, please help me to plead with the Emperor for mercy. Feng Ruqing had sent someone here to escort me to the barracks. I have yet to marry the State Preceptor. I don't want to leave the palace. Feng Rushuang fell down before the cell gate as she cried her heart out. It was already difficult for Feng Rushuang to meet Nan Xian. Once she reached the barracks, it was almost impossible for her to meet him again. Chapter 201. The Ill-Fated Lady. Feng Rushuang. There were so many impudent hussies in Lu Yun Kingdom. What if the state preceptor had given his heart to another when Feng Rushuang returned to the city? Feng Ruqing is truly vicious. She must have fallen for the state preceptor's stunning face. As she is afraid that she is no match for me, she sends me to the barracks. Although Lu Rong cared for Feng Rushuang, she knew that Feng Rusheng should no longer stay in the imperial city. Otherwise, Feng Ruqing would put Feng Rusheng into big trouble. Schwanger, I can't bear to part with you. However, since Feng Ruqing wants to send you to the barracks, if you refuse to do so, she will not let you off easily. Perhaps I would get into trouble as well. Hearing this, Feng Rushuang's body stiffened. She raised her head to look at Lu Rong. Her cheeks were covered with tears, and a profound sorrow clouded her face. Mother, are you thinking of my safety or the Lu family's? Feng Rushuang sneered. Hearing this, the color drained out of Lu Rong's face. As Feng Rushuang was her daughter, naturally, Lu Rong cared for her. However, there was nothing that she could do to help Feng Rushuang. Schwanger, hang in there. I will take you home after some time. In any event, we should act in the best interest of the overall situation. If we mess with His Majesty, the Lu family will get into trouble. Do you get what I mean? Lu Rong stretched her arms and held onto Feng Rushuang's hands through the cell gate. If Nalan Hu and Qin Feiyang had not attained Spirit Warrior tier, Feng Rushuang would not have to suffer such an unbearable agony. Lu Rong lowered her eyes to hide her malicious gaze. Feng Ruqing, you will have to pay back several times more than the things that you did to both of us. Slightly startled, Feng Rushuang looked at Lu Rong in bewilderment. Seeing Lu Rong's face was overcast with viciousness, bitterness crept into her face. What about the state preceptor? Mother, I have fallen for the state preceptor ever since I met him. He is the only person I would marry in my life. Feng Rushuang would never forget the things that had happened the day when she was still young and naive. She had accidentally barged into the southern bamboo grove. Suddenly, a young master in a white robe with a zither in his hands came into sight. He looked enchantingly stunning, as if a deity had descended from the sky. At that very moment, the state preceptor had entirely taken hold of her heart. He had a place in her heart that no one else could have. Her life was meaningless if she could not marry the state preceptor. Schwanger, listen to me. I met the state preceptor the other day. Lu Rong gritted her teeth. A dull ache gnawed at her heart. Feng Rushuang's body stiffened. A glint of astonishment shone in her eyes. I have even brought up a proposal of marriage. Lu Rong took a deep breath. What did the state preceptor say? Feng Rushuang's eyes flooded with tears as she asked anxiously. She had totally forgotten about her current situation. He said that you were so talented and gorgeous. He likes you too. He is thrilled to take you to be his wife. However, a light flashed across Lu Rong's eyes. For real? The state preceptor likes me? What is it about? Radiant with joy, Feng Rushuang clenched her fists hard. He told me that he hates Feng Ruqing just as much as we hate her. If we could end her life for him, he would marry you. Hearing this, the joy on Feng Rushuang's face vanished without a trace. Mother, are you lying to me? With his strength, Feng Ruqing is nothing but a piece of cake. If he hates her, why would he want us to do this for him? Feng Rushuang pursed her lips. Chapter 202. The Ill-Fated Lady. Feng Rushuang 2. Schwanger, I am your mother. Of course, I will never cheat you. Although I am not sure about the state preceptor's true identity, I know that he is very powerful. Lu Rong tightened her grip on Feng Rushuang's hands. Had it not been for Nan Xian's almighty power, the emperor would never have treated him as a noble guest. However, he is seeking refuge in the palace as he had messed with a powerful master. In the Tsangyu mainland, People from the reclusive family could never lay his hand on the people from the secular world. Most importantly, they could never make a stir in the kingdom. Hence, the state preceptor could still be safe and sound, hiding in the palace. No one would dare to mess with him. Lu Rong did not know why Nanxian was here in Lu Yun Kingdom, as he had always been hiding in the palace and did not allow anyone to enter the southern bamboo grove. She simply could not think of any reason. For real, Feng Rushuang could not believe the things she had just heard. However, as Lu Rong was her mother who loved her with all her heart, naturally, Feng Rushuang would believe in everything that Lu Rong said. Yes, I would not be able to know this if the state preceptor didn't tell me. That's the reason he could not do anything to Feng Ruqing. He was afraid that Feng Tianyu would avenge Feng Ruqing, and he would lose his refuge. If the state preceptor fights back, his opponent would know his whereabouts. Hearing this, all the doubts in Feng Rushuang's mind had slowly faded away. But the state preceptor let his snake hurt me and throw me out of the southern bamboo grove. Feng Rushuang was still biting her lip. If the state preceptor truly likes me, why would he do that to me? Slightly startled, Lu Rong pondered for a while before sighing. It's all because of Feng Ruqing. As the state preceptor barely knows you, and you are Feng Ruqing's sister. Since he hates Feng Ruqing, he had vented his anger on you. However, the state preceptor had sent some people to check you out and has now understood that you are different from Feng Ruqing. He has grown increasing fond of you since then. That is not all. He is extremely annoyed with Feng Ruqing as she keeps hounding him recently. Hence, he is seeking our assistance to end Feng Ruqing's life. Lu Rong stared at Feng Rushuang earnestly. Dumbfounded, Feng Rushuang's eyes flickered with anger. Feng Ruqing. It's all because of Feng Ruqing. Seething with rage, Feng Rushuang balled her hands into fists as she growled with a low voice. Previously, Feng Rushuang did not understand why the state preceptor had hated her so much, as she had never met him before. He had even thrown her out of the southern bamboo grove. Now she realized that it was all because of Feng Ruqing. Even the state preceptor was annoyed with her. Fortunately, the state preceptor was smart and had checked her out, so Feng Ruqing did not tie her down. Otherwise, who should she go after if she had lost such a perfect man? Schwanger, as we can't fight Feng Ruqing now, you must go to the barrack. When your grandpa makes another breakthrough, we will be able to get rid of Feng Ruqing, and you will marry the state preceptor. Feng Rushuang could feel a tremble in her heart as all the rage faded away mysteriously. She had never thought that the state preceptor would fall for her and actually wanted to marry her. Mother, I will listen to you. I won't go against Feng Ruqing. I will only get back at her in the future. However, the state preceptor has upset me and had even put me in the same category as Feng Ruqing. I will not marry him before he apologizes to me. Feng Rushuang lowered her head bashfully as she stamped her feet on the ground. Chapter 203. The Ill-Fated Lady. Feng Rushuang. Lu Rong's eyes were filled with a hint of uncertainty, but at the same time, she felt a great relief in her heart. Feng Rushuang must leave the imperial city. Otherwise, Feng Ruqing would definitely not let her off easily and might bring trouble to Lu Rong's father. As for the state preceptor, Feng Rushuang simply could not do anything by the time the whole Lu Yun kingdom fell into the Lu family's hands. Schwanger, when you reach the barracks, don't stir up any trouble. I am afraid that Feng Ruqing may. Seeing Feng Rushuang beaming with joy, Lu Rong sighed softly. A sense of guilt crept into her heart. Mother, don't worry. I understand. I will bite back all my grievances to marry the state preceptor. Feng Rushuang raised her blushing cheeks. That's great. Feeling relieved, Lu Rong got up. She continued after pondering for a while. I am still being grounded, but I have snuck out to meet you. I have to go now. If someone finds out that I have snuck out, it could create a great stir at the palace. All right, Mother, please go back now. I will leave as soon as someone from the general manor comes over. Feng Rushuang was overjoyed. Lu Rong did not speak further. She glanced at Feng Rushuang before walking out the dungeon. Not long after Lu Rong left, the military officers from the general manor arrived. Originally, The military officers thought that Feng Rushuang would turn hostile and retaliate. It turned out that not only did she not fight back, but she also walked after them obediently. It was such a coincidence that when Feng Rushuang walked past the southern bamboo grove, Nanxian too was walking out of the southern bamboo grove. Under the setting sun, there stood a young master with an aura of nobility. A green snake was weeping on his arm, pouring its grief out to him. Feng Rushuang stopped walking and stared blankly at the young master's delicate face. Perhaps Nanxian had felt Feng Rushuang's longing gaze. He turned his head slowly and stared nonchalantly at Feng Rushuang's smitten face. "Your Highness Princess Rushuang, please hurry up," the soldier said impatiently. Feng Rushuang regained her focus, glanced at Nanxian before turning back and walking forward resolutely. She did not look back again after that. "State Preceptor, I will never upset you. I will return and marry you." Sob. "Master, I am sorry. I will never leave home again. Don't chase me out of the house." Outside the southern bamboo grove, a young master stood with an azure snake that was crying uncontrollably while clinging onto the young master's body, fearful of being thrown away again. "Who is she? Do I know her?" Nanxian knitted his brows together. Slightly startled, Qingzhu looked in the same direction Nanxian was looking. A familiar silhouette came into sight. Tilting its head, Qingzhu contemplated for a long while and finally recalled the lattice identity. "Ah, that's the lady who had snuck into the southern bamboo grove and set her sights upon you. She even laid on your bed. How could you forget her?" "I will never remember the person I don't care about. Then why are you asking me all of a sudden?" Qingzhu blinked in bewilderment. I don't like the way she looked at me." Nanxian's face was growing increasingly aloof and nonchalant. "State Preceptor, I heard that this lady has always been bullying Her Highness and had put her into trouble. Do you think we should take her head off to please Her Highness?" Qingzhu rolled its eyes and asked. Chapter 204. The Ill-Fated Lady, Feng Rushuang 4. By doing this, Qin Chun could never win Feng Ruking's heart. Qingzhu was thrilled as it thought that Nanxian would compliment it for such a great idea. As long as Nanxian was happy with its idea, he would never throw it out of the house. A glimmer of light flashed in Nanxian's eyes and quickly vanished without a trace. His nonchalant gaze moved to Feng Rushuang's back. "Would Qing'er be happy if I killed her?" Not long after, Feng Ruking's words flashed in Nanxian's mind, and his face darkened a few shades. "Qing'er told me that she doesn't want me to avenge her. She wants to handle it on her own. However, if I am just teaching Feng Rushuang a lesson, it wouldn't be considered revenge." The corners of Nanxian's lips curved into a faint smile. Not far away, Feng Rushuang turned her head around to glance at Nanxian. It seemed like she was reluctant to part with Nanxian. At this moment, Nanxian, too, was staring at her silently. Simply no one knew what he had on his mind. When her eyes met his, her heart thumped violently as color rose to her cheeks. Mother is right. The State Preceptor has truly fallen for me. Otherwise, he wouldn't come out of the southern bamboo grove to watch me leave with his eyes filled with melancholy. Bang! When Feng Rushuang was lost in her happy thoughts, the tree next to her fell down and pressed down on her before she could react. Struggling in pain, Feng Rushuang's body was covered in cold sweat as color drained from her face. At this time, a giant rock rolled down and smashed right on her bosom and blood spurted out from her mouth. Seeing this, the soldiers behind her flew into a great panic and stared, shocked, at Feng Rushuang, who was soaked in blood. What had actually happened? The tree had suddenly fallen down, and a giant rock had appeared out of nowhere. "Do we need to heal her first?" a soldier asked hesitantly. "It was nothing. As a cultivator, she won't die from this. Take her straight to the barracks. We may get ourselves in trouble if there are any delays." "Master Naylan and Her Highness will not be happy then," another soldier said after pondering for a while. As Feng Rushuang was badly hurt, her face contorted in pain as she spat a mouthful of blood again. "Feng Ruqing, she must be the one who did this. I will not let you off easily." Standing under the setting sun, With one hand at the back, Nanxian's sleeve fluttered in the wind. His gaze swept over Qing Zhu, who was clinging onto his arm as he said nonchalantly, "You know it very well, how to hold your tongue." "Don't worry, Master. I will not tell Her Highness." Qing Zhu regained its composure and nodded hastily. Nanxian looked away and turned to walk toward the southern bamboo grove. Just as Nanxian stepped into the southern bamboo grove, Qing Zhu turned its head and glanced at Feng Rushuang, who was still pinned under the fallen tree. Its eyes were filled with sympathy. This lady had actually messed with the wrong person. She was no doubt seeking her own demise. No one in this could mess with the person Nanxian cared for. Ever since the snow wolf was bullied, Feng Rushuang wanted to enhance her strength rapidly. Naturally, the iron-blooded troop was part of her strength. Hence, she had gone into the palace to visit the iron-blooded troop. However, she did not expect that she would end up lying on the state preceptor's bed when she walked past the southern bamboo grove. I truly have lost my mind seeing his beautiful face. Business before pleasure. I must not do this again. Walking in the courtyard where the iron-blooded troop was settled, Feng Rushuang reached out to her forehead as she sighed softly. Chapter 205. Enhanced Ability. In the courtyard, Tang Zi was training the iron-blooded troop under the setting sun. Tang Zi raised her head only to see Feng Ruching, who was stepping into the courtyard. Slightly startled, Tang Zi walked toward Feng Ruching. "Master, why are you here?" "I'm here to pay you all a visit and talk about the future of the iron-blooded troop." Originally, Feng Ruching had brought a bottle of spirit wine for the iron-blooded troop. However, she had lost it in the southern bamboo grove. "I forgot to bring you all the spirit wine." Feng Ruching forced a smile in embarrassment. "Master, the spirit wine you gave us last time was really something. Even though it was not powerful enough for us to make a breakthrough, our strength has been greatly enhanced," Tangzi said with a smile on her face. "That's great. Tangzi, even though Luyun Kingdom looks peaceful on the surface, it is in actual fact chaotic, both inside and outside the kingdom. The iron-blooded troop shouldn't just settle down in the palace." Tang's expression grim, and the smile slowly faded away. "I have thought of the things that you have said before, and I have since sent a few people out of the palace to gain some experience and training. Without a real battle, even an almighty power would slowly be depleted." "No, that's not what I meant. I am saying that every one of you needs to get out of the palace." Stunned, Tang Zi stared straight into Feng Ruching's face, the face that she could not be more familiar with. "Master, even though Master Nailin and Master Qin has attained Spirit Warrior tier, I am afraid that we should not just leave the palace. As you have said, the whole kingdom is chaotic both inside and outside the kingdom." As Tang Zi had promised Empress Nailin that she would protect the emperor and princess with her own life, she could never leave the palace, especially not now. "Tang Zi, Luyun Kingdom would be just fine with my grandpa and Master Qin, guarding the kingdom. You have to get out of here, and should only return if you have attained Spirit Warrior tier. Moreover, you cannot even protect yourself with your current strength. Let alone protect my father and me." Feng Ruching furrowed her brows as she said earnestly. "Your servant understands." Tang Zi sank into silence and looked up to Feng Ruching after a while. It was true that Tang Zi would never improve, being grounded in the palace. She would definitely attain Spirit Warrior tier if she left the palace. "Tang Zi, the iron-blooded troop is part of my strength. My strength grows along with the iron-blooded troop. Hence, I would get the snow wolf to lead you all into the forest of spirit beasts. However, you must bear this in mind. You all can only stay at the boundary and not anywhere deeper." Feng Ruching reached out and patted Tang Zi's shoulder. Tang Zi was thrilled when she heard Feng Ruching's words. She broke into a bright smile. Her eyes flickered with joy. "Master, I will not let you down. Listen, all of you, except the snow wolf, must not return to the city without making a breakthrough. I will get a lot of spirit wine ready for you all. It will increase the speed for a breakthrough." "A lot of spirit wine?" Master has a lot of spirit wine? Tangzi was lost in wonder, but she did not ask any further. Her eyes were brimming with radiating vigor like some glittering stars. Master, don't worry. We will never let you down. Tangzi balled her fists forcefully. Her voice resonated in the air for a long while before it faded. Chapter 206. Enhanced Ability 2. After Feng Ruqing had finished distributing all the tasks, she left the palace. Once she reached her princess manor, the snow wolf came running to her at lightning speed, wagging its wolf tail, and had almost crushed Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing's face darkened and seemed a little annoyed. She kicked the snow wolf a few feet away without any hesitation. The snow wolf quickly got up and shook off the dust from its body. It cried out in a pitiful howl again and again as it felt very hurt to be treated this way. Master liked dogs. Coincidentally, the snow wolf had passed by a house where a dog displayed such welcoming act for its owner just now, so it picked up the trick. Why wasn't the outcome like what the snow wolf had expected? It did not receive the same fondness from Feng Ruqing like the dog did. This was so unfair. Since you're here, I have an important task for you. Feng Ruqing smiled as she looked at the aggrieved snow wolf, who kept showing its begging eyes to her. The iron-blooded troop is going to the forest of spirit beasts for training tomorrow. I want you to follow them as well. This was shocking news to the snow wolf. It was totally dumbfounded. It had only one question in its mind. Is she going to abandon me? Really abandon me? Howl. The snow wolf cried out a mournful whimper and tried to throw itself at Feng Ruqing's feet. It hugged her legs tightly with both its forelegs while pleading her with its eyes. It seemed to be trying to say, please don't abandon me. I will eat less and do more work. I don't want to be the abandoned little wolfie. Male wolf, go away. Feng Ruqing was annoyed. Once again, she kicked the snow wolf to the side using her foot. Howl. The snow wolf attempted to cry out in a pitiful howl again. Its facial expression was filled with hurt to the point where its tears were almost flowing down. You have eaten so many of my divine spirit fruits, and you still want to laze around? Feng Ruqing's face darkened when she saw the unwillingness shown by the snow wolf. She demanded, do you still want to take revenge for the assault? What assault was she talking about? Perhaps she actually meant to say, it was robbed the last time? Although that old man failed to snatch its divine spirit fruit, he was still considered guilty for having the intention of stealing those fruits. Thus, the snow wolf nodded its head under Feng Ruqing's heated gaze. Yes, it really yearned for revenge. Since you want to take revenge, then bring them to train at the forest of spirit beasts. You are more familiar with the terrain since you have been there. Never let them enter the Tier 4 spirit beasts territory. Feng Ruqing squinted while she instructed. She continued, one more thing. If you happen to bump into any Tier 3 spirit beasts, you know what to do. I still need more workers. Lure them to me. Do not let Tangzi hit those Tier 3 spirit beasts to death. The snow wolf beamed with happiness. It was glad that its master never intended to abandon it, but only wanted it to work harder. By the way, you must come home once every 5 days. I will give you some spirit herbs, and it's your responsibility to pass these herbs to the troop members. Do help them to safeguard the herbs as well. The forest of spirit beasts is full of danger. Without the spirit herbs, I will feel worried. Feng Ruqing voiced her concern. Upon hearing about the spirit herbs, the snow wolf's mouth started watering, and its eyes shimmered with excitement. You can have some of the spirit herbs too, but not more than 3 herbs per day. Feng Ruqing warned the snow wolf with a suspicious glare. Actually, it was quite easy to help the iron-blooded troop members to succeed in their cultivation breakthrough. As long as Feng Ruqing managed to hit the level of true warrior tier, she could start to cultivate the Tier 3 spirit herbs. The spirit wine or herbal dish made of Tier 3 spirit herbs would be able to help the true warrior tier cultivators reach their breakthrough. On the contrary, before she managed to cultivate Tier 3 spirit herbs, the earth bear and the snow wolf still could not cultivate it, even though they were Tier 3 spirit beasts. This was the restriction for spirit beasts to cultivate spirit herbs. Looks like I have to put more focus on my training for the next few days. Feng Ruqing mumbled to herself while gazing up at the azure blue sky. Chapter 207. The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 1 Tan Residence Courtyard. In the quiet courtyard, there was only anguished wailing. It was like a sharp needle stabbing at Lu Yuqin's heart ruthlessly. He was extremely heartbroken and devastated, looking at the closed door of the room with guilt in his eyes. Finally, he pushed the door open and slowly stepped into the room. On the bed in the room was Tan Shuangshuang lying on her stomach. Her back was soaked with blood, as it kept seeping out from the wounds. She looked like a lifeless doll, as pale as a white sheet, looking pathetic and miserable. Tan Shuangshuang sensed someone standing at her door. Her eyelids barely moved, but she could not close her eyes. Her corners of her lips turned into a sneer. Shuanger, Lu Yuqin was heartbroken to see his beloved woman suffering. He gasped in pain. I am sorry. I am really sorry. Tan Shuangshuang closed her eyes. Her apathy was well hidden underneath. When she opened her eyes again, there was no more indifference and hatred, but only grief. Yuqin, why have you only visited me now after so many days? Lu Yuqin was startled. He did not know how to explain to Tan Shuangshuang that his father had prohibited him from coming to the Tan residence. He was worried that they would be dragged into the hot water because of the Tan family. Moreover, his father had attempted to force him to marry Feng Ruqing, that wicked and malicious woman, again. Lu Yuqin had sworn to himself that he would choose death rather than marrying that woman again. He pledged not to disappoint the woman who loved him more than her own life. Shuanger, the Lu family. Something happened at home, so it has hindered me for a while. I have come a little later to see you. Lu Yuqin walked to Tan Shuangshuang's bed and caressed her soft hair gently. He looked down to see her clothes soaked in red blood, and the sight pained him again. You have suffered a lot. Shuanger would not suffer such an injury if it was not because of him. In fact, Feng Ruqing would not treat Shuanger this way if it was not because of him too. He was the one who had caused Shuanger's suffering, so he would never disappoint her in his life ever again. I do feel wronged, but my grief does not come from enduring 200 plank punishment for you and your mother. I feel sorry for myself. Look at how far I am willing to sacrifice myself for you. But you are only visiting me today. Tan Shuangshuang mocked her own foolishness with a pathetic laugh. Her eyes were full of tears. Lu Yuqin, I love you with my whole life, but you treat me like this in return. Lu Yuqin quickly held Tan Shuangshuang's hands as the words really pained him. His handsome face turned into a frown. Shuanger, I know I am useless. I have let you suffer this pain. I promise you that I will never let other people bully you again in the future. In this lifetime, Shuanger was the only woman who had loved him with her life. Feng Ruqing kept on saying that she would only marry him, but she had humiliated him in public. Moreover, she had fallen into another guy's embrace in such a short time. He would definitely take revenge for his shame and humiliation. Tan Shuangshuang tried to sit up, but she felt the unbearable pain once she moved even just a little. She gasped in pain and lay down again. Lu Yuqin panicked. Shuanger, your injury is too severe. It is better if you don't move around too much for now. By the way, where is the physician? Why isn't any physicians here to treat your wound? Tan Shuangshuang sneered coldly and looked down at herself. Everything changed after the Tan family was in trouble. Those physicians who used to attach themselves to the Tan family had left once they had heard about it. Even though her family tried to hire a physician from outside, nobody was willing to treat her injury after they found out that she had angered the princess. However, there was no need for Lu Yuqin to know about this matter. The princess has given a command to prohibit anyone from giving me treatment. If any physician disobeys her wish, she would kill the person. I am not willing to see any innocent people die because of me, so I have asked them to leave. Chapter 208. The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 2 Boom. The last string held to his temper snapped. His anger was burning up to his head. Lu Yuqin's eyes were red with rage. He clenched his fists, and his blue veins started to pop up around his face. Feng Ruqing. Never thought that she is such a vile woman. Comparing Feng Ruqing and Shuang'er, the first one was the infamous malevolent and ruthless woman, while the latter was a naive and innocent sweetheart. He could not fathom this. How could a person be so malevolent to this extent? Shuang'er had never done anything bad, but Feng Ruqing kept putting her in trouble. Did she intend to force Shuang'er to take her own life? Shuang'er, I will never let anything happen to you. I will get someone to treat your injury later. After you have recovered, I promise to bring you to dine at Paramount. I heard they have come up with a new herbal dish recently. It can help in healing, so it must be good for your recovery. However, the herbal dish was not cheap at all. For Shuang'er's sake, he was willing to spend a fortune for her. All sacrifice was worth it when it came to Shuang'er. It was such a pity that Paramount's herbal dish not allowed for takeaway. Otherwise, he would not have come empty-handed today. Suddenly, it was silent in the room. After a moment of silence, Tan Shuang finally opened her mouth. Her miserable tone stabbed Lu Yuqin's heart with every word she uttered. Yuqin, how good would it be if you did not pursue me at the very beginning? Then I would never annoy the princess. Nobody is willing to treat my injury, and even my father is terminated from his service now. Tan Shuang laughed sadly to herself. Perhaps I should have been more conscious about my status. After all, she is a princess. She still has His Majesty to side her despite all her wrongdoings. Lu Yuqin was startled upon hearing those words from her. He never expected her to say something hurtful like this. What she said was true. He was indeed a burden to Shuang'er. If he did not pursue her before this, then Shuang'er would not suffer from so many misfortune and pain, and even cause Grand Tutor Tan to lose his job. Everything was his fault. Lu Yuqin felt even more guilty when he thought about it. He clenched his fists tightly, but no words came out of his mouth. Since my father holds no position now, I am sure that Chancellor Lu will not allow us to be together. Tan Shuang lowered her gaze and smiled sadly. It is all right. I do not care about it anymore. Everything is my fault. I have to bear the consequences. Lu Yuqin quickly stopped her and grabbed her hands with both his hands. His eyes were red with emotion as he swore to her, "You have sacrificed so much for me. There is no other woman who loves me as dearly as you do. I will definitely marry you, and you shall be my wife." If other women were put in this situation, she would definitely hate him for choosing his mother over her. However, only Shuang'er would always put him over herself. She would sacrifice herself for his sake. How is it possible for him to find another perfect woman like Shuang'er and let her down? No matter who was against his wish, it would never stop him from marrying Shuang'er. Tan Shuang turned away from Lu Yuqin. She refused to look at his face. I heard that Chancellor Lu did not allow you to leave the manor. He even forced you to marry the princess. If the princess loves you, do you think I still stand a chance? Lu Yuqin frowned a little and uttered with little hesitation, "She already has the state preceptor, and she won't bother me again." Tan Shuang sneered mockingly. "Yuqin, have you ever wondered why the state preceptor has fallen in love with the useless princess? She is just abusing her power as a princess to force him into this. She has only one objective, which is showing off to you. She wants to prove to you that she can still attract other guys so you will pay more attention to her. However, I don't blame her. Love makes people blind. It is normal for her to play tactics in order to get you." Tan Shuang spoke sadly while lowering her gaze. Her eyelashes trembled with tears. Chapter 209. The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 3. Lu Yuqin was left speechless. He would believe every single word said by Tan Shuang without any doubt if this situation happened in the past. However, he could not see his reflection in Feng Ruqing's eyes anymore. He was unsure whether current Feng Ruching still loved him like those days. You don't have to worry, Schwanger. Whether Feng Ruching is still chasing after me or not, my determination will never change. Lu Yuchen's gentle, compassionate eyes looked determined. He was committed. I will go home now and tell them my decision. I will come back and ask for your hand in marriage after you have recovered. Lu Yuchen was reluctant to bid farewell as he glanced at Tan Shuangshuang for the last time before leaving. He turned and walked toward the door. Tan Shuangshuang's gaze was still locked on Lu Yuchen. It was filled with complicated emotions. Since Lu Yuchen had chosen Lady Lu over her, her hatred toward him was already rooted deep inside her heart. However, this was not the right time to fall out with him. Her father had been suspended from his official duty. She must find someone else to rely on. Now, she could only make use of Lu Yuchen's guilt and cling to him. 2 months flew by in the blink of an eye. A young woman was meditating quietly on the back hill. Her body was surrounded by a flowing spiritual qi. That spiritual qi transformed into a fine trace and surrounded her body before diffusing into her breathing system. It was then absorbed by her body. Suddenly, the qi energy burst into dashing particles with a loud sound and entered her body at high speed. Even Fu Chun and Qing Han, who stayed in the medium, could sense the strong spiritual qi. Their petite bodies were stiff from shock. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Brother Fu Chun, did Mother break through to true warrior tier? Qing Han stared blankly at the sky. Perhaps it was only her illusion. The sky seemed a little disturbed as a turmoil started to form in the sky. How was this possible? This medium was created by the 9th Emperor. They had brought the medium along before they left. They had even kept Divine Herb's sect inside the medium. Thus, under normal circumstances, this medium had changed into another world. Except for Feng Ruching, who could enter and leave this place anytime she liked, this medium was unaffected by other energy influence. However, why was this medium affected by the spiritual qi movement? If Mother had only reached true warrior tier, why? Fu Chen frowned, deep in thought. His cute eyes were serious. Did you realize that the spiritual qi movement is somehow familiar? Qing Han's eyes widened in shock. Last time, the 9th Emperor watered them with her own spiritual qi instead of regular water. The previous Feng Ruching was too weak, so there was barely any changes to this medium. Both of them could not sense anything. However, Qing Han had managed to sense it this time. Her mother, who liked to take advantage of other people, had similar spiritual qi, like the 9th Emperor's one. Fu Chen bit his lips anxiously. Qing Han, maybe we are overthinking. Better not let her know about this matter. Let's pretend like nothing has happened. But if the medium is already affected when she advanced to true warrior tier, imagine what will happen if she continues to advance. What will happen to our medium? Perhaps they could leave this place earlier than expected? On the back hill, the meditating young woman finally opened her eyes slowly. She stood up and found that her clothes had become loose. She smiled in satisfaction. Her lips curved up. Looks like the first thing I need to do after leaving this hill is to get well-fitting clothes for myself. She had not left this place in these 2 months. In fact, all her meals and herbal dish were sent by the four-armed ape in order not to disturb her training so that she could fully concentrate on her training. Although she could not totally slim down in 2 months, it was a massive change for her compared to her old self. For instance, she could not fit in this dress anymore. Chapter 210. The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 4. At this moment, Feng Ruching realized that something was going on with the sword in her hand. This was the sword she had cheated off Fu Chen previously. It looked like an ordinary sword, and that there was nothing special about it. She had never used this sword because she could not even pull it out of its scabbard. However, she noticed something obvious about the sword. Previously, it was grayish and dull, but it seemed a bit shiny now. Even the dragon crafted on the sword blade looked more alive. Feng Ruqing rubbed her eyes repeatedly as she was worried that it was merely her illusion. However, she found that the sword was indeed different. It was not dull and bleak. There was a hint of greenish shine. Realizing the changes that had happened to her sword, Feng Ruqing was very excited to pull out the sword from its scabbard with full force. However, the sword was still very heavy for her. She could not remove it at all. Perhaps I am overthinking. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. She could not do anything about it. This sword can only be used as Fu Chen's food. Too bad that there is no other way to use it. Especially when it was a heavy sword. It was very inconvenient for her to carry it around. If only she could find a place to hide it. After all, even though it was not useful to her, she could still feed it to Fu Chen. So, she must keep it somewhere safe. Just as she was thinking about this, the sword suddenly emitted a bright light and disappeared from her hand. Feng Ruqing was dumbfounded. Where was her sword? Without waiting for her to ask Fu Chen, she was pulled by a sudden mysterious force. She knew that Fu Chen was calling for her, so she did not fight it. The force brought her into the medium. Once she entered the medium, Feng Ruqing saw the long sword lying quietly on the floor. Her face went dark before she lifted Fu Chen, who was standing beside her. She questioned him. What? Fu Chen, how can you take back something that you have already given away, huh? Fu Chen rolled his eyes and explained. The old medium could suck in things from outside. Otherwise, Qing Han and I could not keep Divine Herb's sect in here in the first place. However, it might not work this way anymore. He then pursed his lips and continued. So, once you take anything out from this medium, there's no way to bring it in again. Of course, Feng Ruqing was an exception herself. Feng Ruqing was puzzled as she squinted. What happened just now? I am not sure too. I only know that this medium has somehow changed after you have managed to reach true warrior tier. Now, it can function like before where it can store things from outside, like a giant pouch bag. In ancient China, pouch bags did exist, but there were not many of them. Even Feng Ruqing as the princess of Lu Yun Kingdom did not own one. If this were really virtual storage like a pouch bag, it would be much more convenient for her later on. At least, she could store many things in this medium, so she did not have to carry heavy belongings all over the place. Feng Ruqing rubbed her chin as she had an idea. This medium contains higher spiritual qi compared to the outside world. If I cultivate the spirit herbs here, will it be more productive with less effort? Fu Chen agreed and nodded. You can bring things in from outside, so it applies to the spirit herbs as well. What about the spirit beasts? She had little time to cultivate the spirit herbs. No, it doesn't work like that at the moment. Currently, this medium only manages to store living things, which do not have intelligence. Spirit beasts have intelligence, so they are unable to come here. Fu Chen shook his head while explaining the situation to her. It does not work for the time being. It also means that perhaps it could work in the future. Since this is the case, I will make use of this medium for myself. Let the spirit beasts conquer the back hill. Chapter 211. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited. I Qin Huai Riverside. Paramount. Paramount was indeed the first restaurant in Lu Yun Kingdom. The number of customers was high. Recently, there was the selling of herbal dish in Paramount. It was not only delicious, but it could also heal illnesses too. Therefore, Paramount had made a rule that a person could not enter Paramount if the person did not have enough money to spend. Soon, Paramount became a place only for nobles. Even so, there were a lot of customers who came to Paramount from all over the place just for the sake of the herbal dish. Tan Shuangshuang stood in front of Paramount. Her eyes were drooping. She had not recovered from her injuries yet, and she needed others' help to walk. Her face still went pale with pain whenever she took a step. Her cold sweat ran down endlessly. Yuchin, you have snuck out of the Lu Manor today, just to bring me here for the herbal dish. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Tan Shuang bit her lip. Her eyes were filled with worries. It seemed that Tan Shuang was really worried about Lu Yuchin. Lu Yuchin hugged Tan Shuang's waist with deep concern for her. Today, my father went to the palace for some business. Hence, I could sneak out. Your injuries are healing too slowly, and they can only be helped with the herbal dish. So, you don't have to overthink. I cannot stand the sight of you, enduring the pain all by yourself. Shuanger has sacrificed a lot for me. The Tan family is even burdened by me. My father did not even allow me to have a relationship with her. My mother's behavior has changed too. It is making me feel so distressed. Tan Shuang is the most innocent person among all the others. I cannot leave her behind. If not, I would be no different from a villain. Yuchin, Tan Shuang smiled at last. This was her first smile after the punishment. Her smile was still very beautiful and captivating. Thank you, she smiled slightly. Thank you for staying by my side all this while. I, Tan Shuang, will not leave your side too for my whole life. That smile and that voice captivated Lu Yuchin's heart like a hand. It dazed him, and he soon fell into a trance. Unknowingly, there was an image in Lu Yuchin's mind now. It was plump and large like a giant mountain. It made him smile coldly. My father had asked me to marry Feng Ruqing. That is absolutely impossible. Lu Yuchin endured the sight of Feng Ruqing's plump body before because she was obedient, and she had always listened to him. But now, he would never marry Feng Ruqing whether or not there was a place for him in Feng Ruqing's heart. No man in this world would not want to marry a beautiful lady. Lu Yuchin was a normal man. He made the decision just like any other man would. Lu Yuchin held Tan Shuang's hand tightly when he thought of this. He smiled gently. Shuanger, let's go inside. I heard that the herbal dish here is very effective. It'll definitely help to heal your injuries. Tan Shuang nodded slightly. She smiled softly. She allowed Lu Yuchin to lead her in. Lu Yuchin did not realize that there was a tinge of wickedness on Tan Shuang's face when he looked away. Tan Shuang's smile disappeared and was replaced with wickedness and evil like a serpent's. Soon, the people in Paramount came and led them in. Lu Yuchin did not reserve a place, so they were led to the lobby. They just needed the herbal dish for Tan Shuang's injuries. Anywhere would be fine. Chapter 212. Both Tan Shuang and dogs are prohibited too, however. Lu Yuchin's facial expression changed after he listened to the prices of the herbal dish mentioned by the waiter. Is Paramount a robber? A blood-enriching decoction costs $10,000? What about that other herbal dish? It's just some herbs and trotter. How can it cost $20,000? How can you rob others' money like this? Lu Yuchin was infuriated. The Lu family was under Lu Yuchin's father control now. Lu Yuchin could only use $50,000. Now, the two herbal dishes had almost depleted all of his money supply. The waiter rolled his eyes. Young master, why did you come here if you can't afford it? It's an order from our elder. If Tan Shuang comes to Paramount, the prices we offer would be like the prices I mentioned. If you can't afford it, just get lost. You, Lu Yuchin nearly vomited blood from anger. The people in Paramount are rude. If Paramount is not the only restaurant offering the herbal dish, I'd definitely not waste such money. Unfortunately, some people who had tried the herbal dish before had returned and tried to brew the herbal dish by themselves. But they could not make it. It was either the herbs used were too strong and it caused nose bleeding, or the prescription was wrong and it could not help the healing process. But Lu Yuqin did not understand. The prices of the herbal dishes are not like these. Why did they change the prices when Tan Shuangshuang came? Tan Shuangshuang's face paled when she heard about what the waiter said. She bit her lip hard, raised her head, and looked at the waiter with watery eyes. May I know why Paramount is treating me like this? The waiter smiled coldly. At first, our young master said Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited here. But our young master said that it might disgrace the dogs, and we should not let go of the chance of earning money. Then, he made this rule. Tan Shuangshuang's body shook, and she nearly fell to the ground. The person who was aiming at her was not only the elder of Paramount, but also the young master who never made an appearance in person in front of the people. What did I do that infuriate them? And now they want to bully me. Dogs and Tan Shuangshuang are prohibited. I was never disgraced like this. Paramount is just too arrogant. Lu Yuqin was angry when he saw how pitiful Tan Shuangshuang looked. He slapped the table and stood up. His eyes were burning with anger. My Shuangshuang is gentle and nice. Why is everybody against her? Feng Ruqing is like this. The young master of Paramount is like this too. Everybody in Paramount focused their eyes on Lu Yuqin because of his outburst. All the people who were able to come to Paramount were noble. They knew Lu Yuqin surely. They were shocked when they saw Lu Yuqin and Tan Shuangshuang. Chancellor Lu mentioned that Tan Shuangshuang would never be allowed to be married into the Lu family when Grand Tutor Tan was dismissed from his service. They never thought that Lu Yuqin would bring Tan Shuangshuang along to Paramount. He even had an argument with Paramount. Young Master Lu, you need to bring enough money if you want to bring people out for food. Are you planning to eat here for free if you don't have enough money? The waiter of Paramount spoke calmly. But an average person would not be able to work in Paramount. How would the waiter be frightened by Lu Yuqin? Moreover, Paramount's young master would be on the waiter's side even if Lu Yuqin made a fuss. So, what was there to be afraid of? But why was Paramount against these two people? The waiter did not know the reason. He just heard of the event vaguely. It seemed that these two people had infuriated the woman who was loved by the young master. Surely, the young master would not just forget about it. Chapter 213. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited. The others in Paramount heard what the waiter had said, and they could now understand the situation better. It seems that the Lu family is not stable now after what happened to the Tan family. They even think of coming to Paramount to dine for free. It really disgraces the Chancellor's family. They're so daring to come here when they could not afford even a meal. Does the Chancellor know about this? The Chancellor might break his legs if he gets to know about this incident. Lu Yuqin's facial expression twisted further after hearing their comments. He would definitely make a fuss if those people were normal citizens. But he recognized a few faces from the crowd. He could not help but forget about what he wanted to say in retort. Yuqin, Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes. She appeared pitiful. It's okay. My injuries will heal. Just go home. We don't have to waste this kind of money. Lu Yuqin looked at Tan Shuangshuang. Her face was clearly pale because of the loss of too much blood. He had made a difficult situation and held Tan Shuangshuang from standing up. He gritted his teeth and said, "Just bring those 2 dishes that I ordered just now. It's just $30,000. They'll spend more if it could help Shuanger to recover." The waiter smirked. "All right, but, young Master Lu, can you please pay the bill first?" "You." Lu Yuqin's body shook with deep fury. "What does it mean? Do you think that he'll fail to pay my bills?" The waiter smiled coldly. "We'll trust the others. But, young Master Lu, you intended to eat for free just now. What should I do if you plan to have the meal and run away without paying your bill? I can't win in a fight against you. So, they'll just ask you to pay first." Lu Yuqin's body shook even more vigorously. He felt that he was being embarrassed. But Lu Yuchen endured his anger without losing it in front of others because he saw the waiter's smirk and the looks given by the others. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, let's pay the bill first. Surely he'll have a chance to take revenge on Paramount in the future. Now, he'll just endure it now." Lu Yuchen threw the silver coins in front of the waiter. "Take it. If not, the others would misunderstand and think that he'll eat the meal for free." The waiter smiled broadly. He took the silver coins happily. Each silver coin was worth $10,000. "It seems that I have misunderstood just now. Young Master Lu is really generous. You have even given Paramount a generous tip just because you want to prove that you're not the kind of person who would eat anything for free. Then, he'll take the money from my young master happily." The love you have for Tan Shuang is true love. You can spend this much for her. At first, nobody realized that Paramount raised their prices of the herbal dishes because they did not notice the commotion. Now, Lu Yuchen nearly vomited blood after he heard about what the waiter had said. "It's you who raised the prices and asked for $30,000. Now, you said that I've tipped you a lot. Who would tip this much? What's more important? My father would definitely break my legs if he knows that I've spent this much money on Tan Shuang. What resentment does Paramount have against me?" Lu Yuchen was very angry. He wanted to kill the waiter there and then. "Why do you frame me like that? No, Paramount doesn't resent you. We sincerely wish that you and Tan Shuang will marry as soon as possible. Don't just keep Tan Shuang by your side for this long without proper status." The waiter coughed a few times. He changed his arrogant behavior and seemed very friendly now. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.